Good morning. Welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is April 15th, 2024. This is episode 138. This is a podcast by a dreamer for dreamers out there. Stand-up comedian, actor Paul Green, sharing my journey as I try to figure out what the hell life is all about. And in case you're wondering, no, I have not figured it out, and I still have no idea. So, last night or yesterday was a pretty eventful day when it comes to comedy for me. The first thing I did is went to my buddy Josh Noby, who's an incredibly talented and funny stand-up comedian. And he and I are also doing a podcast. And so we've been filming a handful of episodes. It's not going to be as frequent as the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, which, as you all know, is daily. Crazy. So we've been filming, I think we filmed maybe 4 episodes by now, and the goal is to get 4 or 5 in the can and then start releasing them. After the podcast, I went to my open mic that I helped start about 5 or 6 months ago. And we actually had one of the best turnouts for that open mic that we've ever had, which is actually a bad thing. It's like one of those, well, this is a good problem to have, because the way I formatted the open mic is specifically designed to have a limited number of stand-up comedians so that the open mic only lasts 1 hour. One of the biggest complaints of stand-up comedians and open mics is that they are freaking just too long and there's way too many comics. And you can never get everybody in, and then nobody's paying attention. None of the comics are supporting the other comedy. They'll just do their time, and then they'll leave, or they'll be outside smoking or all that stuff. So I created an open mic that is specifically designed to alleviate that, which is it's 1 hour long. We have a sign up online. There's only so many spots. But what started happening is the spots online fill up, but we have enough regulars now that even if the spots fill up, they just kind of show up anyway. And we're still kind of cool and chill, so we just put them on the list anyway, and we almost always have no shows, so it's like not a big deal. Well, yesterday, we had a full sign-up list. Almost all of them showed up, and we had about 8 other comics show up. Was it 8? I think it might have been exactly 8 comics show up who didn't sign up and just wanted to get some time in. And because they're regulars, we didn't really want to turn them away. So that's a good problem to have. But now we're going to have to probably start being a little bit more strict with the rules, because now it's starting to turn into something else, which is not its intention. But that's a really good problem to have. And I tried my brand new joke that I had written the night before, and it went okay. It didn't flow very well because, I just written it, so it's not like I really have it memorized. But I had sort of the basic tenets. And I think I'm on the right track, everybody. I think I'm on the right track, having sort of finally seen the formula that my buddy, I've been getting some mentorship from a very successful, incredibly talented stand-up comedian friend of mine, and he was patiently trying to get me to see kind of what comedy the really successful comedians are doing, and it's kind of like you just kind of need to do that. I think it's maybe common for anybody in an artistic arena to think that our goal is to be some sort of unique unicorn and to be totally different. And I understand that argument, and there is definitely some validation. I think probably the best way to describe it is I read this book once called Save the Cat, which is actually a book about writing a screenplay. And it really breaks down what movies are from a structural standpoint, that pretty much like the formula that every successful movie has utilized, and it gets very detailed. And one of the things that the book says is that in order to write a successful movie, you have to do the exact same thing, but different. And I think that's the same. I think that's with comedy too. It's like, if you want to be a successful comedian, you have to look at what successful comedy is, and you have to do that exact same thing, but different. And what can be different, I think, is what every comedian has to discover for themselves. How can a comedian take the proven formulas and structures that are what audiences are anticipating to some degree or another, and then put your own twist on them, put your own personality in them, put your own opinions and, your own stories, your own jokes into those structures. But at the end of the day, if you're too different, then it's really, really hard to be successful, because then nobody knows what they're watching. And if you think about how many movies or television shows have come out and they try to do something different, they try to be super weird or super artistic, and every once in a while, one of them becomes this anomaly, and it's like, wow, this is the best movie ever. But for every one of those that sort of breaks the mold, there's probably another 1,000 that you never heard of, and the reason you never heard of them is for that very reason. And I think that's the same thing with comedians. There are tens of thousands of comedians, but how come we only... there's only so many that are household names. There's only a dozen or so. And I think it's because the ones who get successful understand the formula, and then they just mass produce content within that formula. And I really think that's the same thing with anything that's popular. I mean, you look at pop music, it's like every Taylor Swift song is exactly the same. It's the exact same song, just over and over and over and over again. She may change the lyrics. She may change the key. She may make it a minor key instead of a major key. Maybe she swaps a chorus and a verse here, but it's every single Taylor Swift song is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, or verse, chorus, and the thing. They all have something to do with romance breakups, teen angst, right? And the whole world just cannot get enough of that. And all of the great comedians, like you look at Bill Burr, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to get up there and he is going to rant about something that you're probably not supposed to rant about. He's going to find some sort of thing that's very topical and that is sort of taboo, and then he's going to double down on it. WNBA, women getting hit, like not being able to hit a woman, being a mom is not the hardest job there is. Really successful men who get cut in half because they had affairs, like these really sort of overweight people. I mean, it's abortion. He went after abortion on his last one. So that's what we expect from Bill Burr. Anthony Jeselnik, what do we expect? We know he's going to tell the most horrific jokes we've ever heard. By horrific, I mean he's going to say the most horrific thing that we could possibly imagine, and we know that's what he's going to do, and then he just does it over and over and over and over and over again. Follows a formula, a pattern. Mike Birbiglia, John Mulaney, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, Liza Schlesinger, Nate Bargatze, Tom Segura, Shane Gillis. It's just Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart. So that is what I am trying to really start to hone in on, is just finding out what is this structure that is the anticipated structure so that any sort of audience will understand and be able to follow. It's like following the plot of a movie. Why are some movies successful? It's because they follow a structure and they follow the structure well, and they do so in a certain way. Now, you can swap out a million different details. You can swap out who the characters are. You can swap out what the plot is. You can swap out the location. Are we in space? Are we on a ranch in Texas? Are we in, a New York City hustle and bustle? Are we in the past? Are we in the 1700s? Are we in the future? Is it robots? Is it cowboys? Is it aliens? Is it uppity New York marketing agency? It's like you can swap out all of that stuff, but the ultimate structure is the same, and that's what I'm learning with comedy. That was a long rant. So I got to do the same thing, but be different. And that is what I'm trying to figure out is in what degree do I need to be the same and in what degree do I need to be different? So anyway, I do the open mic and I tried my new material and it went okay. It wasn't killing, but it also was an open mic, and it was the first time I'd ever done it, and I just written it the night before, and whatever. But I think the premise got a laugh, and I'll tell you, if the premise gets a laugh, meaning if that like opening joke to where the audience goes, oh yeah, nope, I see what you're doing there, and I agree with you that is a funny opinion or a funny premise, then you're golden. And then from there, it's cool. Now I just need to flush out some of these details, flush the act out. How long is the act out going to go? How many different examples am I going to give? But I'm on the right track. After the open mic, I then hopped in my car and I drove immediately to Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix, where the Phoenix Suns play. And there, I got to watch live Nate Bargatze perform in front of 17,000 people. And you want to talk about a man who's the same but different. I mean, his writing and his delivery is just so right down, just right down the center. I mean, he is just so clear on who he is on stage, what his joke structure is, what he's delivering, what makes him different and what makes him the same, and just absolutely slays 17,000 people for an hour. And it was very inspiring, discouraging, because I think he's a year older than me. That's where it gets discouraging, is I'm going, this guy's my age, and he can sell 17,000 tickets 2 nights in a row, by the way. He was there the previous night, and from what I understand, also sold that out because I had friends who were there. And he could do that time and time and time and time again. And that is just so absolutely mind-boggling to me. I mean, I'm just sitting there and going, how does anybody accumulate this level of fans? I mean, 17,000 people would pay money, and not just a little bit of money, a lot of money. Get babysitters, pay their hard-earned money, get in a car, pay another $30 for parking, fight traffic to get to downtown, walk into arena, because that is how important it is, or how much his style of comedy means to so many people, and just how willing they are to make such tremendous sacrifices, how willing I was and am to make such sacrifices. And oh man, I'm a dreamer, everybody, but I also have, I always try to take my reality medicine and just go, I mean, there's no way I could ever catch up to him. I'll never be able to leapfrog, but how close to that level of exposure could I even realistically hope to even scratch the surface of? And I don't know. I have no idea. But there is something about what he's been able to accomplish that is appealing to me. And I know wealth and fame isn't everything, and it has its pros and its cons, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm fully aware of that. And there's this whole element of, let's say that somebody waved a magic wand, and next week Paul Green was headlining at Footprint Center in front of 17,000 people. Would that make me happy? And of course, no, it wouldn't. It would not make me happy if I was not already happy. And I talked a lot about this with my buddy Jim when we went to lunch the other day, which is, there really is no such thing as achieving something that will make an unhappy person happy. I think I worded that appropriately. Meaning, if you're not happy now and you think that getting a certain goal or making a certain amount of money or getting a certain car is going to convert an unhappy person to a happy person, I don't think there's much evidence for that. There may be a little bit of evidence if your life is absolutely in the shitter and you can't pay your bills and you don't have a job and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, getting to a position where you can pay your bills and, have a job will potentially, bring a degree of happiness, but maybe not. Maybe you'll, get a job and be able to pay your bills and still be just as miserable, I don't know, everybody, but it was really incredible to experience, to just be in the room, a very, very large room with somebody who has been that astronomically successful at his craft. And it showed. He had 3 openers, and they were all very, very good, very, very funny. But once Nate got on stage, it's a whole other level. It's just a whole other level. So, something to strive for. I don't know how close I will get, but there is something appealing to that. All right, everybody. So those of you following know that I have been committing myself to write 3 new jokes. These last couple of days, instead of 3 jokes, it's kind of turned into like a bit that has several components to it. And the funny thing is, it's actually taken me longer to write one sort of involved bit than just to write down 3 jokes. And the jokes that I were writing weren't really coming out that good. And I realized that probably one of the main reasons for that is I wasn't writing within the joke structure that successful comedians utilize. So I'm going to share with you some brand new material. I wrote this actually right after the Nate Bargatze show. I went across the street to a restaurant, had my notebook, and I sat down and I wrote for about an hour and a half after watching Nate. So here we go. So I recently moved in with my dad, and it made me feel like a failure. And I'm finding a lot of people agree. I just don't ever think that moving in with your parents is a sign that things are going well. I don't think you've ever you know, hear somebody go like, hey, did you hear about good old Jordan? Yeah, he crushing it. Got a big promotion and finally saved enough money to move back home with his dad. Oh yeah. Next day he sold his car. He's taking the bus now. Jordan's really crushing it. Yeah, if you move in with your dad, not only are you unsuccessful, you are definitely the least successful of all of your siblings. Which, ironic, is the complete opposite is true. If your dad moves in with you, it's because you're the most successful of all your siblings. So I think my goal is to be right in the middle. I want to move out. I want to be successful enough to move out and get my own place, but not so successful that if dad ever needs a place, you know, I'm the only one who has a house big enough with a spare bedroom. I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I love my dad, but there's a big difference between loving your dad and wiping an ass. So I'm gonna stick with the love him. I'm not totally selfish, though. I actually see it's ironic. I live with my dad, but I do help out my mom because she's on a fixed income. And so I send her some money every month. I figure it's the least I can do because their divorce was my fault. That's a callback from a couple of days ago, but I like that joke. But just so you know, I am, of course, kidding. My parents' divorce was not my fault. If you knew my parents, you would know that was definitely on them. Love you, Mom. I know she watches this, and I think my dad does sometimes too. Let's see. Oh, so let's just talk about it. So how did I get to the position to where I had to move in with my dad? Well, it went something like this. About 10 years ago, I started doing stand-up comedy, and now I live with my dad. So that is pretty much how that went. If you're thinking, well, Paul, if stand-up comedy isn't working, why don't you get a job? I have a job. I've had a job this whole time. It's pretty much gotten to the point to where I can either afford rent or afford to keep doing comedy because I am losing a lot of money. So I pretty much have a choice. It's like, do I live with my dad or do I spend $300 on a plane ticket to do a gig in Missouri that pays $100? And my choice is, well, all I can say is I had a great time at that show in Missouri. I think that's it, everybody. Well, did we see the formula in there? So what's the formula? What happened? What really happened? What did I observe? What did I think or what did I do? What is my opinion on what I thought or what I did or what happened or what I observed? And then how can I act it out and demonstrate it, exaggerate it, or reiterate it over and over and over and over again? So that is my new material. I am batting 100% on my other goals. So I have been doing 10 squats, 20 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and having no soda or sugar soda for 6 days of the week, which, by the way, tonight was my cheat night, but I forgot. And actually, when I went to go eat after Nate Bargatze and I was writing that incredible material you just heard, by instinct, I ordered a Coke Zero, and I totally forgot that I could have technically had myself a Coke. But I didn't. But I will definitely be having some sugar soda. I do take advantage of my 1 day cheat day. All right, everybody. So that is the update from Paul Green Comedy in April 15th, 2024. I hope all of you are doing amazing. Your dreams are going well, and you're finding success and love. And I will plan on talking to you tomorrow. This is April 15th, 2024, episode 138 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much. Talk to you tomorrow.